Jack Hansen gets bumped hard by you-know-who. Kachuk.
McDavid scores! Game winner! Series winner!
Oh, he scored! Oh, Steve Smith in a technique to get it out of his own zone, put it in the net!
Cam Talbot and Mike Smith, they're going to go at center ice. This is the Battle of Alberta we've been waiting for 3 decades!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fuel and Fire podcast. We got another off-season episode. Lots of prospect focus and the eternal optimism of the off-season, right? Everyone's going to take a step forward. I'm here with someone taking a step forward as well. Tyler, how's it going, man?
Not too bad, absolutely. I think I always liken the draft in the off-season to hockey Christmas.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you get all the new presents, all the new prospects, and you're so excited and so eager to test them all out. And then, slowly they lose some of them lose their
Right,
but-
right.
yeah.
And injuries and underwhelming seasons and
Oh yeah.
all kinds of things, difficulty transitioning to the next level. But for a brief moment in time, we're all perfect.
You don't know what's hockey coal until it becomes coal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a teaser for later, maybe. We're going to start with maybe some of the summer showcase that just happened. This is like a preamble to, it's like a training camp almost for the World Juniors, right? So it's not necessarily the most competitive. Got Team USA and Canada both had split squads there. Yeah, had maybe some general thoughts on the tournament. There's a few Flames players there, not really much of an Oilers presence.
Hey, the price of being a contender, right?
Right.
I think, yeah, as you said, this is mostly just a tester for World Junior Championships, possibly World Championships if any of these players do make that squad, right? So it's more or less just to see who has chemistry, what lines work, what guys can be used on special teams, all that kind of stuff. The tournament actually started out with a split squad of Canada White and Canada Red. Canada White won that 4-3. Did you have any expectations coming into the tournament, Greg? Or
Yeah, like I definitely, this one's a lot of players who are already drafted. So there's some confirmation bias that I was getting on some of my favorites, like that aren't even Flames or Oilers affiliated. Like I really like Logan Hensler. I think he went even too low. I think Ottawa got a great pick there, and I thought he looked great. Same with Koivu. I kind of had some standouts. A big couple actually on Sweden. They were on a line together most of the time that I was watching was Viggo Bjork and Ivar Stenberg, or Ivar Stenberg. Not sure how to say it yet. Some 26 eligible, so that's kind of what I was watching. Obviously caught a lot of Potter and Reshny for the Flames. Too bad Perek wasn't there.
Yeah.
Left with like an injury or something, minor injury, it seems.
I think like especially that, as we mentioned, this is just kind of like a tester area. So really no reason to risk severe injury or maybe nagging
Right.
like an already existing injury. So more or less just precautionary move from the Flames there for sure. But yeah, realistically, Canada slightly underperformed. But like as I said, it's more or less just a tester.
Right.
Really, the only competitive game was a game against the USA. But yeah, it's definitely. Sorry, I'll transfer back to you. And you were talking about Sweden.
Yeah, no, part of it was because they have the split squads, and like I'm Canadian. If I'm cheering for an international team, sometimes it's Team Canada. But in general, like I'm more of a holistic fan of the game. So I think if Canada and US are going to have split squads, which is useful in a tournament like this to get a look at a lot of players, but like I'm not going to be surprised or disappointed when like the full squad for Finland or Sweden beats them, as they basically did the entire tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it was US or Canada, like it was I think it's good to see them get handled a little by a full squad from another country, as they should in a way,
So, with that being said, do you think there's any buyer remorse from any of these teams, or
Oh, I'm not that negative, especially with like the kids, I'm
yeah,
just seeing positives. I
yeah,
mean, definitely we're gonna talk about it later. There's a few players, but like, it sucks. You want every pick, every first rounder to become the best version of themselves, but like I think it's a bit of an unrealistic standard to be like, if we pick someone, say at 14 or 16, and it doesn't look like they're going to be a top line player, like I'm not sure that's something to be super negative about. There's a long way for these guys to go and a lot of twists and turns along the way. I mean, yeah, I'm more looking for positive things always.
I know, and especially there's some teams that are quick to judge players, uh, quicker than they should be, right? More on that later. Um, but no, like I remember reading a while back a book called The Art of Scouting, and it talks about roster management and prospect identification. And in it, they mention like for an NHL team, if they pick two guys that become NHL regulars out of a single draft, that's a really good draft for a team,
Right,
right? So like to go out and say that, well, this kid isn't an all-star, that's
right.
unless it's like a top 5 pick or top 10 pick, I don't think those expectations are necessarily realistic, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So buyer's remorse at this tournament, definitely not. I just have more guys that I'm like, oh, I really liked the goalie for Finland, Sarainen. I thought he looked really good. Eric Nielsen, kind of saw some nice things from him. Um, yeah, yeah, no, lots of just positive thoughts. Riker Lee had a sweet, like, no look spinorama backhand pass. I was like, oh. Yeah, yeah. And Hagen's, I think a lot of people were worried about
Yeah.
is he only got a point a game as a freshman or whatever. And I thought he looked like really comfortable compared to a lot of the other players on the ice. So he's always looked good in the Team USA uniform.
Sorry for our Canadians listening.
Yeah, yeah, no. It's all right. Yeah, no, I'm cheering for Canada, guys. Don't worry, but yeah, I'm cheering for a lot of people.
Yeah. Speaking of cheering, obviously Flame fans, one of the guys they were cheering for at this tournament was definitely Cole Reshny.
Yes.
And in this type of environment, I think he was one player that definitely stood out more than some of his teammates, right?
Yeah, I thought he was their best player almost, like
Especially in the game against Sweden to the Finland and Canada.
yeah.
He looked like one of the best players on the ice. There's obviously some miscommunication issues and all that, as as chemistry and all that gets sorted.
Right.
That's
They gave up a lot of odd man rushes, basically. It's just, yeah.
I was trying to be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't his fault though. Yeah.
No.
No, I mean, the hands are great. I feel like the poise is there, like just because he's undersized and in the WHL, and I feel like so clutch and so responsible and trusted by coaches. Like I'm kind of getting Braden Point vibes in a way. Maybe not as good as a skater, but I find he's smart enough he's in the right spots always. He finds a way to be useful always.
Yeah, and like I think just looking at him and his like manipulation of space is so good.
Right.
His overall awareness is 100% is there, right? And I think if he is going to make the NHL, that's what's going to be driving it. Are those hockey senses and his passing ability? Oh my goodness, his timing and his placement, and like even his deception in his actual passing, like the fakes, the look offs. It's definitely something to look forward to if you're a Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I mean, even before the NHL, because I don't think he's going to NCAA this year, right? And I'm thinking if he goes to the World Juniors, maybe he'll start off as an extra forward because there's going to be a lot of older guys kind of on the team. But like if he's on the team, I think he's going to end the tournament higher in the lineup than he starts is kind of how I would predict it would go if he made this.
This episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast is proudly sponsored by Ollie Remthula, your go-to realtor in Calgary. Ollie is an award-winning industry leader who makes buying and selling real estate a seamless experience. No matter what your real estate needs are, Ollie's full support will make you feel at home while finding your home. Contact Ollie Remthula today at 403-477-2280 or ollie.remtula@gmail.com and make your real estate dreams a reality.
Team, you know?
Absolutely. Kind of like that, the Gavin McKenna story where he started as 13th and then just worked his way up, right? Obviously, two different players, but that kind of same projection when it comes to tournament development, I guess.
Right, yeah, for sure. So definitely for Flames fans, looking good. I saw Cullen Potter as well playing center at this tournament for at least the parts that I was watching. I saw him kind of like going up against Viggo Bjork on Sweden, the 26 eligible, and doing well in face-offs. And yeah, there was kind of like, it was a bit surprising to some people when Conroy came out and said, oh, we see Potter as kind of a center, like getting kind of too undersized, but very functional centers in that first round. Do you have anything you notice about him?
Honestly, I wasn't paying close attention to the US. I'll be honest.
But
no, like as in terms of Potter though, like he's definitely another guy that the Flames have honestly very high praise on, right? Like just his skating and like his pace is really high. 100%.
Yeah.
He's an elite skater, and then like the issue with him is I'm not necessarily seeing anything that stands out as fantastic, but then on the same side, I don't see anything that stands out as terrible. So he's a well-rounded player and I think that's just as exciting of a prospect as say a Renski or any of the other draftees from this 2025 draft class for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There seems to be like, I would say with both Reshny and Potter, like there's some skills, but like I feel like they're really able to leverage their skills and apply them well. And like obviously Potter's been doing that at the NCAA, ASU or whatever, and that's, you know, I think really encouraging that they'll find a way to be useful even though they're smaller. You know, they'll find ways to kind of still make things happen.
Well, yeah, and like especially with both of the guys, like their physicality maybe isn't fully there, but they also have say another 4 years,
right?
Your NCAA track or less 3 or 4 years to develop that muscle mass, develop those physical elements. I think especially when we're looking at players, physicality is one of those things that they can develop later, and it's fine, right?
Right.
Like if a player is stupid, they can't suddenly become smart over a season or two, right?
Right.
with Potter and Renski, they can hit the gym twice a day, and then suddenly come back as absolute freaks on the ice, right? So that's definitely not something to be scared of if you're a Calgary Flames fan looking at their prospects, right?
Yeah, we got to get them shopping in like that special section of the pants store that they have for hockey players.
Yeah, exactly. The size won't fit the slim.
Yes, no more of that. Yeah.
I think you're 100% right. There's a lot of soft skill there with both of those guys, and one thing I will say is I think Potter is more of a handler, and Renski is more of a passer, right?
Right.
Like I mentioned with Renski, his passing ability and his deception is fantastic. Same with Potter, or a little bit of opposite of Potter, right? Like Potter is more of a handler, deker.
Yeah, I always picture him like screaming it through transition off the rush, like kind of flying the zone early, getting a pass, you know.
Yeah.
A good transporter through the neutral zone, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Speed. A power play drop back guy, possibly, right?
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of time to develop when it comes to that.
Yes, yeah. We'll be patient, and we'll see maybe both of them at the actual World Juniors this year, right? I mean, I'd say there's a decent chance for both. How would you say?
Yeah, I would say 100%. I would be surprised if the one thing that I'm a little bit hesitant about, especially when it comes to Renski, is there tends to be a little bit of an avoidance of NCAA guys unless they're a top end pick like a Power or like like the
Taste
yeah
back in the day. But maybe this is a good place to transition because that might be changing now that everyone's going there. Like McKenna, yeah.
Exactly. And I think this was definitely a make or break year for the CHL. Just in terms of CHL NCAA rule change.
Right.
I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things that we're going to see in the CHL next season is it's going to be a lot younger. There's going to be,
Yes.
right? Like, and that's definitely not a bad thing for NHL teams because they're going to be able to identify a lot of these more talented players, probably younger because the rosters in general are just younger, right?
Right.
I was looking even this year, like there's 08s already committing to NCAA rosters for next season, right?
Yeah.
Like a Brady Wasslin out in Niagara. He's an 08 and he's going to NCAA next season already, right? And then with like the 05 drafted players, you're going to probably see a lot of them go NCAA. And overall, the league's just going to get a lot younger.
Right. And that, like, I guess, like, because we knew this rule change was coming, and there's always like the intended consequence, but then there's also like the collateral consequences that come along with it. And I think like now, especially like on the on some of the broadcasts for this summer showcase, they were talking about all the American players that are now going to be going to the CHL for their pre-NCAA years instead of the USHL, for example. So the power dynamic is, like you're saying, for the CHL is getting kind of younger so that it's like a feeder league before the guys go to the NCAA. So we'll see. There's going to be, I think, lots more unfolding of consequences that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I remember I was talking with a WHL general manager earlier this year, and he told me like, one thing, we're getting a lot of guys that I never thought I would get, but
Right.
now I have to worry about losing guys that I never thought I was going to lose.
Right.
So it's that balancing of obviously and even in the CHL drafts we saw like record number for American born players getting selected now, right? And it's one of those things that is the developmental path now going to be CHL, NCAA, and then pro hockey, right?
Right.
As much as as much as Hockey Canada or Canadian hockey fans might not like that might be the case now, just because NIL money and all these other factors, right?
What are you gonna do? Square up like a cool mill to get another season of of McKenna? Yeah, you know.
Well, exactly.
You gotta follow the money.
I didn't think the gas money in Medicine Hat was going to keep him there compared to the $700,000 that he's getting at Penn State. Right? But and I think one of the other unintended consequences is you're going to see a decent loss of star power in the CHL.
Right.
Because
especially of the drafted talent.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of an U18 dynamic with the CHL now. As we mentioned, it's going to be getting younger. And then like guys like McKenna, guys like Kolrensky or Porter Malone or any of these guys, they're going to be now jumping to the NCAA right away, right?
Yeah.
And like, what can you do? The only thing you can do is try and even the economic field, right?
And I guess it might make the NCAA even more competitive and more of a watch too. You know, like if every team is going to be like BU or Boston College, where it's just like all drafted prospects. And it's like more and more teams are going to be like, all of a sudden I know half of Michigan State's roster. Like, oh geez.
Well, then just even if you look at the roster construction of the CHL, poor Victoria Royals, they lost their top 4 forwards and their top 3 defenders.
Right.
to the NCAA, or one of them actually went to European Pro. But they're losing all these players prematurely now. So it's definitely going to shorten that lifespan of the CHL teams.
Yeah, the CHL star, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, this is just part of the conversation because everyone's obviously focused on the high end guys, but for the lower end guys, like there's going to be maybe different opportunities as well. Like maybe people who wouldn't be able to make the OHL before now might have a chance, kind of thing. Who knows?
No, absolutely. And then some of the other consequences, or I guess benefits of it, is you're going to see a lot more guys come out with education too, right? Because
right
now, I know talking about education hockey podcast, right? But now these guys are going to be getting their education because rather than say go to the ECHL, right?
Right.
Because if you're not ready to make that jump to the AHL, what's the better option now? Are you going to go and get paid?
Oh, definitely college. Yeah.
Paid to play college hockey. You're going to go making $500 a week in the ECHL, right? Like, so it's going to change fundamentally for even lower tier leagues like the ECHL, where they're going to get younger as well. And I know last night I was actually looking at the recruits for U Sports hockey in Canada here.
Right.
And a lot of those guys are now some of the lower end, like junior A guys, and really no CHL guys, because that's where all the CHL guys went beforehand now, right?
Right.
So that league is going to be greatly impacted as well. And we might not see any Joel Wards or Noah Phillips or
we'll see.
any of those late blue U Sports late.
Derek Ryan,
yeah, exactly, right.
Classic.
So that's another league that's going to be altered by this, and then like it fundamentally changes the environment of pro hockey, right? Like I was out at a game in Kitchener this last season, and it was the only game of the week, so everyone was there. And like normally when you go into a scout room, it's like 30. There would be 30 NHL guys. I think there's close to 90.
Right.
There's 50, 60, 70 NCAA guys, and then like 20 NHL guys.
Right.
Right. So you're going to see a lot of these NCAA colleges be a lot more involved in CHL hockey now. Right.
Right. Hanging around, getting the golden handshakes going. You know.
Absolutely. Hey, have you thought about college? Come here.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting time, an interesting power vacuum for sure. But that's all I got to say about that topic.
You want to walk to the prospect talk now, then, or?
Yeah. Let's maybe get to some young AHLers for the Flames and Oilers. Because both teams, the Wranglers and the Condors, are going to be debuting like some younger lineups, you know, so a lot of rookies kind of coming in and trying to make their mark. Maybe let's start with some Oilers, some Condors stuff, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think especially the most notable guys making that jump to the AHL are going to be Bo Akey, the 2024, or no, sorry, 2023 second rounder.
Right.
And then, I didn't know.
No, don't worry.
I'll look at so many guys. And then you're gonna see Samuel Johnson jump to the AHL now too. A lot of just kind of fringe prospects like the Connor Steinbergs, like the Damien Carfagnas, and like one guy I was surprised that the Oilers didn't sign was Luka Munzenberger, because you don't see a top end pick not go unsigned that often, right?
And he had some nice moments along his way so far, you know, after being drafted at World Juniors, most notably.
And like just with him going the NCAA route, like they had two reasons to go to that team too, because one of their other picks, Joel Matto, was also with the University of Vermont there. So bang out two guys in one scouting trip, right? But no, like that but no, it's gonna be a huge adjustment for a lot of these guys. Most notably, obviously, Bo Akey and Connor Kleinberg, and just it's going to be interesting to see how they make that adjustment.
Right. Yeah, and there's even some older guys kind of coming in to the AHL as well. Like I guess Hudson, whether you want to count it as his first year or not. Josh Szymanski.
Yeah.
Not to mention like some prospects that I'm thinking about anyways. Like Noah Philp, who we've mentioned a bit already, and the constantly injured Robbie Arventi. So it could be kind of a really young lineup, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out and who gets a shot where.
Yeah, and you're going to get a decent amount of pro-ready signed guys going to the AHL too. So you're going to get like David Tomasek. You're going to get I can't say the Finnish guy's name. Lappinen, I
would guess,
Lappinen?
But yeah.
And you're going to see how they blend with these younger guys, be it Josh Szymanski, Quinn Hudson, and even a guy like James Stefan, right? Like he spent the majority of last season in Fort Wayne in this ECHL because he was struggling at the AHL level, and now he's probably going to get an AHL shot this year, and we're going to have to see how he adjusts and if he's ready to make that jump, right? Not to mention their goalie situation, but more on that later. Do you want to jump over to the Flames now? Or?
Yeah, we could save the goalies for later, I guess. Never mind. Let's just bang it out now.
Okay.
Let's do some goalies then, yeah. Because it's a bit of a log jam, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely a log jam. So they've signed 4 goalies for their AHL team who have 2 spots. They did not renew Oliver Rodrigue, so he's moving on. But they now have 31-year-old AHL journeyman Matt Tompkins, who they signed. They have Connor Unger, who was kind of floating in the ECHL last season. And then, obviously, Allsvenskan goaltender of the year, Samuel Johnson. And Flint Firebirds goalie, Nathaniel Day. So, between those 4 guys, they have 2 spots.
Right. And maybe 70 games, so.
Yeah. So, it's expected that probably 2 of those guys would be assigned to Fort Wayne in the ECHL. And do you want to hear my theories, Greg?
Yeah. Well, for sure.
So I don't think the Oilers would be signing a guy like Matt Tompkins just to assign him to the ECHL. So although he's obviously the most advanced age-wise between the 4, I think they give him the mentorship role on the Condors.
Right.
And I think they bring over Johnson to the Condors to then monitor his growth more closely than they could have if he stayed in Europe. So I think those 2 guys definitely make the Condors. Unger was off to a little bit of a rough start last season. Right. He adjusted and he became more reliable as the season went on. He even won a goaltender of the week in the ECHL last year, back in December. But I do believe he gets reassigned to the Fort Wayne Comets. And then Day is weird where he's played really well in the ECHL, but they also don't have room for him at the AHL level.
Right.
So he could likely be the starter in the ECHL and then kind of float up and down maybe if they want to go that 3-man rotation or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a logjam. But it's not a bad thing to have if your goaltending pipeline looks like that.
Right. I mean, it's definitely it's a calculation of who you believe in and how many games you have and how they're best supported, right? So it's even if, arbitrarily just based on age and performance so far, if we're thinking of that group, the most future hope is for Janssen and Day. It's you could evenly split the AHL games, but like you're saying, they probably need a veteran guy to help them. And if he's taking a few games from one of them, and it's probably Day, you're probably trying to get him a few more games because you want him at least to play 30 games between the 2. You can't have him really playing less than that.
Well, no, and I 100% agree with you. I think it should be Johnson and Day splitting those games at the AHL level. However, I think maybe one of them needs more. Maybe they do need some mentorship, and
right.
if say Johnson is underperforming, maybe hand off the reins to Tompkins for a little bit. So then it takes that
Heat off him.
it takes that pull and that those shiners off of Johnson a little more, right? And then gives him a little bit more of a break.
Yeah.
ECHL is still very high quality hockey. You're still going to develop. They will probably get the majority of the reps at the ECHL level. Granted, I think the dark horse here is Unger. Who knows? Maybe the Day comes in and completely outshines everyone, and then he's the AHL starter for next season, right?
Right.
With goaltenders, it's so finicky.
Volatile.
Right?
Yeah, that's why part of me, I know we were maybe talking about this last episode as well. Like, that's why I was kind of surprised they were so aggressive to bring Janssen over, is like, he had kind of this one great season in the Allsvenskan, and it's like, I'd like to see him replicate that. Like, there's no, and maybe you could say the same thing for Day in the ECHL this year. It's like, you got a nice start last year, but let's start the season down there and see if you can replicate it, and then if you do that, then maybe we'll try to call you up and work you into the AHL rotation a bit more, kind of build slowly that way.
No, absolutely. And like, I think just that consistency is so key for a lot of these goaltenders too, right?
Right.
And yeah, like as you said, both of these guys have 1 year of really, really good performances. Who knows what that means for next season, right?
Yeah. I think maybe we saw this with Wolf and the Flames, and his kind of journey is like, he was really good year over year in the WHL, and then he went to the AHL, and I think like right away he was really good year over year. They still kind of took their time. Even last year, like, I know our Flames friends like wanted him to start even more games than he did, but I thought it was smart to, I don't know, I think about like a pitcher in baseball or something, where you want them to be able to handle the starter's workload and kind of slowly build them up the ranks. To handle it, so it's not. I don't think you want to throw them in over their head, unless it's an absolute emergency.
Absolutely, and I think one thing that especially hockey fans might forget about sometimes is, like, these kids are 20, 21 years old, right? Like, there's that, obviously, the on-ice performance, but like, just small things like adjusting to the pro lifestyle, adjusting to
making your own scrambled eggs.
being away from home, or being away from like a billet, or whatever it is, it is obviously going to play an impact.
Learning a new language. Yeah,
exactly. With Johnson, like, making that cultural transition from Scandinavia to now you're probably in Bakersfield,
California.
Right? Like it, and that's one thing that we as fans often forget, is it's not just on the ice that plays a role, right?
Yeah, lots of yeah. And I'm sure we can all relate. It's like, and who among us is always at our best, even without the high demands of like a open competition like hockey. Yeah.
Took me a couple times to make my scrambled eggs. No shit.
Yeah, exactly. Can relate.
But do you want to talk about some long shots for NHL time while we're on this topic?
Yeah, we'll wrap up the Condor stuff before we get into the real interesting stuff, the Wranglers talk. Yeah.
Okay, so some of the guys that I highlighted are Matthew Savoy. Obviously, we expect him to make a full-time debut with the Oilers this season, and he was honestly one of the best forwards for the Condors last season, so that would be no surprise, right?
Yeah, especially second half, right? He really came alive.
Well, and just his complete game, like his aptitude both on the penalty kill and the power play, his speed, his just everything about his game shouts NHL ready. And then some dark horses that I have for NHL time are James Hamblin, who Oilers may or may not recognize that name, because he played a handful of games with the Oilers a couple seasons ago. He had a really feel good moment where he scored, I believe, his first NHL goal, like shortly after his mother passed away, I believe. And it was definitely a feel good moment. I think he's a guy that's definitely earned it. He's proved his stripes. And he just needs the organization to believe in him a little bit more. And then another guy that I have highlighted is Noah Phillip. I know you're a big Phillip fan.
Yeah, I definitely the odd career path through obviously like U Sports and then taking a year off, retiring, and then coming back last year. Yeah, no, it's definitely been an interesting journey. I think I personally, I'm Mr. Positive. I see so many good things. He skates well. He's a big body. He's obviously the right shot. He's playing both special teams. He's doing like kind of like a more on the inside on the power play, which is nice. I think it's useful to have those inside skills. A lot of the times we're thinking about, oh, the guy on the flank, oh, he's a power, like the Matt Bay Petrov kind of thing. When I think that the skills that he is showing, I think would translate very well. He got a few games last year, and even though he's like in his like mid to now late 20s, I think just because of how little pro hockey he's played, there might still be some upside. And that last year, after the year off, he kind of came back and where he was kind of the year before. So I think there's a good chance that between that and the playing center, that he might be the guy I circle as like a unlikely call up. Hudson versus Yarventi is interesting for me. And to be honest, I don't know anything really about Josh Szymanski. I think it's a bit long for NHL this season, but
No, I think and you mentioned with the Arventi, Hudson, Szymanski, all of these guys could play NHL games next season. Their
right,
depth is very solid, right? Granted,
right,
how far up the lineup those guys go is maybe mixed results, but I think if you need like a fourth line power forward, throw in
yeah,
Szymanski, right? He's got the physicality, he's got the compete level, his skating is okay for his size, right? And then if you need scoring touch, Hudson and Yarventi play a very similar game. I lean more on the Yarventi side, mainly just because he's been injured for so long.
yeah.
There
He's
might
more
there
like
might
physically impressive, right? He's
well,
a bit bigger,
yeah, and then
faster.
just like you mentioned with Phillip, like he he hasn't played a lot of pro hockey, so there's
Yeah,
going to be more upside, right? His skating is pretty good, right? Like his separation speed, his acceleration, just mechanically, it's all there. His shooting is an absolute rifle. He has a good release, good weight transfer, good at, even like his arm kick, like it's all there.
mm,
He just needs a little bit more puck skills and a little bit more, obviously physicality, um, as most snipers do. But like he's got everything to be a scoring winger at the NHL level. It's just a matter of can he get back up to speed that he's been out for so long.
right. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Hudson, just because his brothers, I think he's got maybe a better processing than Yarventi. Um, but I'm kind of like unsure if they'll actually get a chance to get some NHL games in this year or not. Hudson, Yarventi, we'll see. I mean, you're probably only seeing them in injury replacements, right?
Yeah, like I think give it another year, you would likely see Yarventi in a role if he transitions well. Like as you said, Hudson is more of an offensive minded shooter. He has really good offensive senses, passing skill, and a more consistent motor than Yarventi. I'd say their shooting's probably around the same. So yeah, it's honestly at that point, it's kind of just who do you personally prefer more, and that's
Right.
obviously for the organization to decide. And I guess we'll see who they choose, right?
Yeah.
I think both of those guys would probably serve the same secondary scoring role on the Oilers if they do get called up.
Right. And I guess like I understand why, for example, Perez can kind of decide to stay in the KHL versus kind of be caught in the middle of all this. I think I like him a lot more than all the players we were discussing. Pretty high on him, to be honest with you. But
I'm a fan of Barry Oskin too. Once again, terrible with names.
yeah, no, it
Um,
depends how you anglicize it. Like some of them have the Y, and some of them just go with the EZ. Some of them have like the YO.
but no, I think with him, I was thinking about this last night too. I think I know why he decided to stay in the KHL. Bear with me. At the age of 24, a player becomes eligible to sign a 1-year entry-level deal. If he signed at 22 or 23, he would have had to sign a 2-year entry-level deal.
Mm-hmm.
So if he signs if he signs at 24, and say they have him in Bakersfield all season, and he's just hates his life.
Right.
It's season. He's done. He can go back home.
Right.
If he would have signed this year and they would have done that same thing, he would have been stuck for another year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it makes more sense as to why I just had this epiphany.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense why he signed. But no, like as you said, I'm high on him. I think he's more like all these guys we're discussing probably have like a bottom 6 type potential. Maybe Yarventi is like a third line guy. Top 9 if he comes back as
his best self.
Yes, because that's another thing. The ice rust, I guess. The rust from being on the shelf for so long. If that negatively impacts Yarventi's performance, outlook's not very good, right? But no, I think Barry Oskin's puck skills and physicality just make him a lot more complimentary of a player than maybe the one-dimensional-ish elements of Hudson's offensive senses and shooting, right?
Right. Definitely like see a good middle 6 forward in there.
I would say probably I'd still say bottom 6 for Barry Oskin. I do think his skills are more complementary and more translatable to the top level in that being the NHL.
Yeah, and I think it's 2-year extension in the K, so it's gonna be this year and then one more, and then I don't think he has any interest in playing in the AHL, right?
No. So as I said, like now he might have to sign a 1-year entry level contract, and that's it, right?
Right.
But no, like one thing that I will say about Barry Oskin, I haven't seen as much skating growth as I would have liked. Just like if you watch it, his stride is like kind of off, and you can tell that it's a lack of like depth and edge work a little bit. So he's not as fast as like a Yarventi, so that has a little bit of hesitancy, and then just his overall senses aren't full. Like I think that's where I differ from him and Yarventi a little bit, because Yarventi, if he comes up, he's like his goal is to score.
Right.
That's how they would measure his success. If Barry Oskin comes over and he doesn't score, that's fine. He's not going to be dependent on to score.
Right. All right. I see. I did like a lot of, to me, the last couple of years, he's been forechecking a lot more.
Yeah.
He's been kind of more willing to kind of get to the net front. Like I think on his way up to the KHL through the junior, it was a lot of like, crossovers through the middle. Let me find a sweet pass off the rush to my teammate. And now I'm kind of seeing a more like real complementary skills that will be useful in the lineup. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like with his 6'4" frame, like his puck protection, as you said, just his ability to get to the grittier areas of the game. He exerts a lot of clean physical pressure, which then translates into that forechecking ability too, that he wasn't able to show as early as we would have liked, right?
Right.
But as we said, like this is with prospects, it's like hockey Christmas. You have to be patient. And, Oilers certainly have been with him.
Yeah, you could wish all you want. You might not get it. So I think that maybe that's a good time to transition to the Wranglers, and I think kind of the hot topic of the week across our various win column group chats is Sam Honzik and kind of his development. He'll be likely part of a really young Wranglers team with a lot around him, but there is a growing discourse in Calgary of them feeling like they have wasted this pick and this first rounder, and it's the Conroy's first pick, and there's a lot of people who are divided and angry or defensive or whatever.
Let me just say, from his draft year, they knew
Mhm.
he wasn't going to be a star, right?
Mhm.
They didn't draft him to be a top line player. Just like how we talked about earlier, buyer's remorse.
Right.
You can't have buyer's remorse on a guy like Hanzik when you drafted him to be a third line guy, and he looks like he's
Right.
going to be a third line guy.
Yeah, it was kind of always more about how he got his more than like how many points he got or like being a totally dominant star. It was more like, oh, he's getting to tough areas, he's showing responsible habits. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, and like just his defensive ability is one thing that definitely stands out. Like uh his defensive upside, he just absolutely suffocates opponents. So
Right.
that decreases their ability to go on the rush. That decreases their ability to like actually form meaningful breakouts. And one thing that I really like with Hanzik is his physicality, right? And we mentioned this with a couple of other players already, but just Hanzik's pressure absorption, his muscle mass, and his body positioning, he gets in those hard areas. He takes the pressure away from the opponents, right? And even when they're exerting it on him, he's able to absorb that rather, and it's better him absorb it than maybe one of his other teammates, right? Because he has good puck protection elements that allow him to keep the offensive pressure going, right?
Mhm.
And then just his compete level overall, uh, I will say it is inconsistent. So there's some games where he looks completely lost, but then there's other games where holy he is the best defensive forward on the ice, right? So his motor, his defense pressure, and he loves to disrupt plays. So once again, it's like the Flames Barry Osgood. He
Mm.
he's up with the Flames. He's not going to be a guy that they're expecting to score, right? And he's expected to go out there, have a responsible shift, and reduce the quality of chances against, right? Although I will say, for his size, for his ability, he has pretty decent skating. So his good acceleration and separation speed, and
Mm.
good skating mechanics, and his shooting overall is slightly above average too. So there is some offensive upside, but yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, it's been just a lot to think about. Because he did a lot of the positives, like you were saying, is kind of in the how and the different tools that he brings. I think that like it was a huge vote of confidence for him to get any NHL games at the start of last year. I know the stat line is a lot of zeros, but it's just a short stint. And I think to survive as a rookie in the AHL, especially in a good roster, cycling from the wing to center, so he's playing all over the lineup down there. I think that it's not like, oh, his stock is rising, he's gonna be a core piece or whatever, but I think there's a lot to be encouraged about. He's been injured, but like the context clues of what the organization clearly feels about him in terms of playing him as a center, as an AHL rookie, and getting him some NHL time where he kind of like forces his way onto the team. So I don't think Flames fans should be waiting for him to be like more than a point a game in the AHL before getting a call up. Like I don't think the production is ever going to need to be that high for him to really become the NHL version of himself.
yeah, and like I know Flames fans probably aren't going to want to hear this. I think he's a solid fourth line guy,
Right.
solid
Maybe.
bottom six guy, right? Like that. Like I think he has a decently high floor, just not a high ceiling, and it's a high ceiling part that gets fans to panic, right?
Right. Right.
As we've discussed, patience is key here. Because I will say the two areas I think he needs growth in, if he is going to make it at the NHL level, as more than a bottom six guy, are his senses and his puck skills. Okay,
Mm.
his awareness isn't super there, and this translates to quite poor play anticipation and creativity. And quite honestly, it does raise some questions for me about his play processing ability. Which, if he is going to be that top 6 power forward that Flame fans want him to be, he's going to have to fix that, right? Which I don't know how realistic it is to put those expectations on him. But yeah, like over this last season, his senses definitely showed some questions, and then his puck skills, like even at the AHL level, you can tell that he lacks quite a lot of confidence, which then translates to some poor decision making, and then turnovers and some of that inconsistency. So those are the 2 areas that I think he does need to improve on if he is gonna live up to fans' expectations. But I think he's much more comfortable, and he fits in a lot better to the Flame system as like a bottom 6, 3rd, 4th line guy.
Right. I mean, and as far as like rationalizing like whether it was a wasted pick or not, I'm just taking a look at his draft year and kind of some of the picks that were made after him. And it just, I think, kind of highlights how young this class is and how there's still a lot of room to be written about all of them. But a lot of the players picked after him have not played an NHL game like him, and a lot might be like Edward Chalet is there, who's maybe more high skilled, but maybe looks like less certain to actually get into the NHL at some point. What is a miss and a bust? There's some cooler heads that need to prevail in the discourse.
And like I mentioned in the discourse with our fellow contributors earlier, it's a little bit too early to write the book on Hanzik, right?
Yeah.
He's still younger. If he's performing like this when he's 25, 26, yeah, it's done. He's not playing NHL games, right?
Right.
Like, have a little bit of patience. I know there's some statistical regression, which made people panic.
Right.
But relax.
Right.
As you said, there's a lot of off the ice stuff that may translate to on the ice that maybe he's still adjusting to at the pro level, right? And don't be super negative, guys.
Yeah.
As you said, cooler heads prevail.
Right. Yeah. But there are going to be some other interesting young Wranglers alongside, at least to start the season, right? So there's a returning contingent for sure, but there's a lot of rookies like Greedon, like Suniev, and Basha. Are they starting off as well? So it's going to be a really like interesting group to try to keep tabs on. A lot of young talent. Do you have any favorites within that group who you think is going to excel at the new level?
So I'm a big fan of a lot of the draft choices from the Flames here, but Suniev already played 1 game with the Flames last season,
right?
So and I haven't watched Suniev since his BCHL days, but really I have a lot of positive things to say about him outside of his one knack that I found on him back then was probably his skating. His posture was a little bit weird and kind of didn't translate super well. But like he knows how to manipulate. He knows how to get into lanes. He knows how to identify scoring chances, create scoring chances. I think he's another guy that could be a real dark horse that maybe Flames fans aren't fully aware of or don't know a whole lot about the guy. But no, he's a high skill forward that I think has some runway.
Yeah, I mean the depth. Yeah, the depth of the Flames I think is like really interesting because like we hear so often is maybe there's not the super high end franchise cornerstones right now, but I almost think like if they made an aggressive trade of like 3 or 4 NHLers for one, that there's a lot of these guys who might be able to step into a role. I know we're both huge on Rory Cairns, for example. So like, but yeah, I think Suniev, especially for a young team, like it would definitely be, I'm curious to see like if he's able to kind of force his way up the organization as the season goes here.
Yeah, and then don't forget that there's going to be a lot of guys that are coming back for their second or third year with the Wranglers as well, right?
Right.
So it's going to be that mix of a lot of rookies, but then you get a lot of returners like Stromgren, like Hunter Bruskowitz,
Yeah.
maybe some guys that you want a little bit more out of, like Lucas Siona, Parker Bell, Garashnikov, obviously Hanzik that we discussed earlier.
Right.
So it's gonna be a lot of positive learning for their AHL team, and they're gonna be a young team this year. And if you're in Calgary and you can't afford to go to a Flames game, I would recommend checking out those Wranglers, because there's gonna be a lot of future Flames there, and just to see their growth and whatnot is gonna be very exciting.
Yeah. Definitely one that I'm keeping my eye on is Etienne Morin, just because, especially with the Flames, like,
Yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm looking at the Hanzik draft. That the pick after him was Sandin Pellikka, and it's like, imagine they had another offensive right D. But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to track him. Well, Grushnikov as well as a lefty, but those two guys I think could kind of spring up higher than people are expecting just because of their handedness in a way. Morin was in the Mem Cup, right? So had a good run.
Sorry.
Yeah, Poirier. Yeah, he's a lefty, but I almost feel like the lefties in the Flame system that are more offensive are at a disadvantage just because they have, like, Parekh is taking up so much air, and Brushevitz can handle himself, and like Anderson already is there, and Uyghur is pretty good on both sides. It's like they kind of need.
And then you have guys like Muse coming up too.
Oh my goodness!
Like they're just they're pretty stocked at that right D position, right?
And I think I've been thinking about this a lot, like how to construct a lineup and what's an ideal lineup, and because a lot of times the fans, they like to get attached to the flashy stuffs and the points and the high flying, but like realistically, like only 2, maybe 3 defensemen are going to play on the power play. And really, you only need one who's super good at it. But you need, for example, 4 defensemen who can kill penalties at least. Maybe 5. So it's like, there's only so much room for, and I think that's why you see some of these high talented guys, they just can't make it, because like you got to be top 1 or 2 guys to be a regular if you're going to be an offensive guy. Why don't you tell me a bit about some of the deeper prospects in the Flame system that don't get the headline? Yeah.
No, and one guy that I'm really looking forward to, and if any of you guys read the Oilers, he was a portion of my late round picks article. Aiden Lane. I think he's one of the dark horses for the Flames. He was drafted in the sixth round of this last draft, and he plays a very smart, heavy, power forwards game. He's highlighted by strong physicality, good puck skills, compete level, and he just processes and plays the game with really high quality senses. One of the reasons why I think he dropped so low this last draft was because he jumped around so much. Like he was playing U18. I think he stopped in junior A for a bit, and then he played like a handful of games for the Brampton Steelheads, and that kind of maybe rubbed people the wrong way, just how much he was jumping around. But I think he has the tools to be a very successful pro player. He's going to Harvard, I believe, next season. So Flames fans, he's a little bit more of a project, but there's a lot of upside there. And then one of the other guys that the Flames drafted is Matteo Phillips, 3rd rounder in this last draft. We were talking about how the Flames have all these offensive guys, right? This guy's opposite. He's more of a shutdown potential, absolute bruiser of a defender. Played out in the USA, and one of his biggest pros is just his physicality. He is a wrecking ball. Okay, so in gap control, his angles, he absolutely crushes kids. And he has really good muscle mass, really high hit frequency, and some of you old school fans might be a fan of him. because he is a huge reverse hitter. So, like, I think one thing that he just needs to advance a little bit more is his pace that he plays with, because he has good defensive play anticipation and he does all the small things right. He just needs to be able to increase that processing and that pace a little bit to make it to that next level, because not only is he a shutdown guy, but he can also be used on the breakout quite a bit. He has good vision and he has some notable lane awareness, especially for passing or for intercepting passes. A lot of some play disruption there too. Good, and honestly, just a good compete level, good intensity, defense pressure, physical pressure, and as I said, he is intimidating for all of his players.
Yeah, I definitely like, because it seems like the Flames under Conroy, they haven't been afraid to go with kind of high skill, smaller upside picks at forward, especially like a lot with like Basha and Misa, and quite frankly I like Battaglia, but it's like a lot of skill. But it's nice to see him kind of throw in some bets on some complementary players like Phillips. If he turns out, it might be a perfect partner for one of these offensive right D-men, right?
Yeah, and like as we mentioned, there might only be 2 guys that play the power play, but you need 4 guys to play the penalty kill on any team. So this is like, it's a guy like Phillips that, while Pry goes out and wows everyone with amazing passes,
Exactly.
Phillips is a guy that's waiting at the blue line to absolutely punish guys that are entering their zone, right? And like he's a 6'5" frame, so he's not scared of using his reach either. But yeah, like, and I think it's trying to find that balance between maybe some of the undersized skill guys, and then finding that balance between some of these bigger, more hard skill guys, right?
Yeah.
Hate to say it, like a Hanzik, right?
Yeah.
Bigger, guy, and
right.
Fans aren't as big of a fan of him as they are of Renshke or Battaglia or whoever it is, right? It's that healthy balance, especially when it comes to team construction.
Right. They're going to need people on every line and I think like maybe to big picture this, that's one of the things that is so great about the Florida Panthers and likely most teams that win a Stanley Cup is like they can play any style. Every line has enough of a mix that they can contribute in a bunch of different areas. So it's like, I think if you're hoping that Potter and Reshny and all these high skill guys work out, you're going to have a few net front guys, a few defensive guys, a few, someone to make room for them to do all those things, as opposed to like just having a bunch of power play flank guys fighting for the same spot with no one standing in front of the net. Trust me, it doesn't work.
Well, and like, I like to think about it this way, like every team has that one just absolute bruiser of a physical shutdown defender, right? Or most successful teams do. So yeah, it's just you need all types of players. Can't go. If we had 21 Yarventis on the Edmonton Oilers, I don't know if they're winning a cup, right? Like, or unless they're even continuing for a playoff spot.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, yeah, good for Phillips to get a shout out. I like that. I think Grushnikov kind of had a tougher season last year, but it's a lot of the same reasons why I was curious of how he would kind of fit into their system there, and just because he seemed like a nice foil to a lot of their other players.
Yeah, and like I think one of the big things about, like, especially because we're talking about fan expectations a lot, one of the things about fan expectations is not every player is going to be a point per game guy, right? Not every defender is going to be a scoring goals. Not every forward is going to be up there playmaking, right? And it goes back to, you just need different stuff at different points in the at different points in the lineup.
Yeah,
you need the Florida Panthers, right? Like,
right. Those guys.
Speaking of Flames fans, Kachuk getting that the cover athlete for the next NHL game.
I know. It's the darkest timeline, truly. No, haunting our dreams even in the summer. Yeah. Yeah, man. So what do you think? Why don't we call it there? Leave it on a nightmarish note. Yeah.
Also, one last thing. Shout out
Uh,
former Team Canada goalie Brett Brochu. Played with the Oilers system in the ECHL. Signed a deal in Germany. One less guy for the
right.
cluster of Oilers goalies to
Goalies.
deal with.
These he got a big yard to roam around in. Doesn't have to share the crease anymore. Yeah.
No.
So yeah, let's call it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Fuel and Fire podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. We got maybe some more breaks in the summer. We might see each other again after Ivan Holinka. We'll see what's on deck for us next as we navigate the off season. Thanks everyone.
Have a good one.